Record, you bastard. All right.
Oh, so beautiful clothing like that literally does nothing for you, huh? It does not make you say "woo" or
No, I don't. Well, I like clothes a lot. I always have.
but
Um,
but seeing Kate Winslet in Dior New Look and just curve hitting um, mid length gowns doesn't do anything for you.
I mean, she looked lovely, and I appreciate good costuming, but it's not. I don't. You
It
know,
does not speak to you. You really are so straight. God damn it.
there are different types of people in the world with different interests.
I can't accept that. I don't know. I don't want to think
It,
about
it
that. That's very bizarre.
it's not that I don't appreciate clothing. It's just that I don't give a shit. I don't know. There's so many other things.
Okay, well,
Um,
we'll goad you into talking about things about this movie in a specific way. Yeah,
I'll talk about it.
yeah.
I like that Hugo Weaving was just playing.
Oh,
What was that movie where he was a drag queen? Priscilla,
Priscilla,
King of the Desert.
Queen of the Desert.
Yeah,
Yes, two
yeah.
Australian movies set in the middle of nowhere. Hugo Weave
Starring Hugo Weaving.
being
Yeah, that's all I could think about.
an absolute faggot in the best way possible.
Fun fact: Hugo Weaving is not Australian,
Oh,
although he's won a bunch of Australian awards.
he's also British.
He's British by nationality of his parents, but he was born in British Nigeria. But he's lived in Australia for his entire career.
Interesting. So the two best actors and best parts of this movie, in this very Australian-esque movie, were not Australian. I love that.
Yeah, in this Australian movie that was half funded by American companies.
It is. We'll talk about like how you don't think it's weird enough, but also just the concept of it existing is also kind of weird.
It's a film that I don't know.
Well,
It feels like it should have been a Hallmark movie or something.
it's just a really well done Hallmark movie.
Yeah, like a Hallmark movie with a budget. I hope that that is how people describe my biopic.
Um, I hope mine is a little too explicit, so it has to be played at gay bars. You know how gay bars play porn in the background to like scare
Right.
straight people off?
Yours is going to be a pornography with a plot.
I mean, so that means no one's gonna watch it.
Yeah, exactly. It won't be able to be released anywhere. It'll be banned in many countries.
It'll develop a cult following
Yeah,
like 30 years
yeah.
after my death.
It'll be directed by an AI version of David Fincher
No objections.
with the gay dial turned up.
And then AI Atticus Ross, right? Doing the music.
Yeah. No, AI Nine Inch Nails as Trent Reznor just spins in his grave.
Yes. And we know it's going to happen. It is just a reconstructed corpse of Bowen Yang playing me. Like, let's be fucking real.
Yeah, no one else can play you. There aren't any other Chinese actors.
That are like effeminate in the way they need to
Men,
be.
sorry. There are no other Chinese male actors.
Let alone,
None
yeah,
exist.
let alone non-binary and trans. Fuck that
Hmm.
agenda.
I actually want my biopic to be a zero budget Wes Anderson movie.
Oh, like this one?
Welcome to Meaning What. I'm Mason Hershenow,
And I'm Sean Ang.
and I let you pick the movie again, Sean.
Yeah, and you didn't like it.
No, I didn't. I like this one better than the last one, but
Well, I am determined to make you slog through gay-ish movies, and then we'll watch a better one this year. Promise.
well, you want to introduce this movie since it's the gay movie and you are the gay.
This is sadly gay in the concept of camp in air quotes. We'll talk about it, but I think it could be considered camp. It is called The Dressmaker from 2015. It stars Kate Winslet. It is an Australian fashion sort of Wes Anderson Western movie black comedy. It is broad picture, like successful-ish in the things it attempts, but it is not ultimately overall amazing because it half attempts a bunch of things.
And what made you pick this movie? What was the driving
I,
concept?
it was not too heavy. It was easier to watch, and like I kind of liked it. Um, I remember liking it when I last saw it a while ago, which was a while ago, and I figured if you didn't like it, I feel like you could script doctor the whole thing and make a better movie out of it.
Yeah, there are bones of something good here, for sure. But if you were gonna make me watch Hugo Weaving in a dress, I would have rather watched Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Ah, that's a
You know,
cliche. That and
I know, but it's also the better movie.
yes, because that's a buddy adventure movie with drag queens.
Right. It has something for every audience. Where this film, I don't know that it does.
Is Hugo Weaving straight? Is he one of those guys that's just very good at,
Yes, he is.
wow,
He has he has been married to the same woman, or I don't know if they're married, but had the same partner forever, and he has 2 kids, I think.
he a little too good at playing a faggot.
Maybe have you considered that he's just a really good actor?
Yeah, but it's like a little too natural for him.
Have you ever met a theater kid?
Yeah, and Stanley Tucci.
Is that homophobic?
You tell me. And Stanley Tucci,
Yeah,
just like too good at being just like Stanley Tucci method acts as a gay person. Anyways,
maybe he does. I bet Daniel Day-Lewis would.
you just start seeing Daniel Day Lewis and like the back alley of Folsom at the piss pool because he's getting pissed on, of course. Um,
Yeah, he gets arrested in public bathrooms, and
for a fisting accident.
yeah, he gets arrested for a fisting accident. It's so bad that he goes to prison.
And then he makes a movie that's like a biopic about some gay artist.
Anyway, so the dressmaker, Kate Winslet.
Yes.
I like that the Wikipedia page describes her as a femme fatale dressmaker. Because she spends a lot of this movie kind of feeling hopeless, you know?
And powerless. Yes. So this
Yeah.
allegedly accomplished seamstress who has run away from her small town Dunnigan or whatever the fuck in the middle of butthole nowhere, Australia, comes back into town unbeknownst to everyone because she's desperately searching for answers about the incident that sent her away at 10 years old. And as we start to peel layers back, everyone is reticent about her being there, small town mentality, etc., until she starts making dresses for everyone. They're ultimately super fabulous and everything. She also falls in love with Liam Hemsworth, who's inexplicably there as allegedly believable small town boy. Not believable.
No, not at all.
He looks too Hollywood. This is sadly the hottest he's ever been to me because everything else he's in, he's just bad. This is his best acting performance I've ever seen, and it's actually kind of still bad, especially next to Kate Winslet.
He's truly the least interesting of the Hemsworths.
Right. I actually want to know about
I do believe.
the ugly brother that's not a famous actor or is like a smaller time actor. I'd be more interested in knowing about him. And then, as the layers peels back, the evil town mayor. Spoilers. I mean, not that you care. The spoilers is her dad, which is also the father of the child that she quote unquote murdered, when it turns out really she just stepped aside as he snapped his own neck. Um, and then she fully believes she has a curse or of some sort. And then the movie takes a heel turn because as she decides to elope with impossibly handsome Liam Hemsworth, he falls into a silo of grain that turns up to sorghum. He dies.
It takes an hour and a half for that to happen.
The pacing of this movie is terrible. Um, and then her crotchety mother, who has been like somewhat protecting her, but also like trying to ward her off, like just collapses from a stroke. And then the evil apothecary guy dies, and so it just becomes this like chain of bizarre events, like her fully quote unquote accepting the curse, and then as the town loses their inter-town play competition, weird small town things, she sets fire to the town and leaves in a cunty little blaze.
And good for her or whatever. Um, and it was the 1950s, so you could burn down your hometown
And get away with it.
and get away with it. Literally ruining the lives of everyone there, which,
They did ruin hers.
yeah, but no matter how evil they are, like, this is a real question of like main character syndrome and sympathy and Sonder, like maybe they are awful human beings because they've all been tortured too, and now they don't have anything, and you've left them alone in the desert to die.
And she's the only one who has, clearly, compared to everyone else, has the means to like actually get out of this town. Ironically,
Yeah, which also she would have destroyed her uh, Singer sewing machine and in that whole process and all of her fabrics and everything. So she's moving back to Paris with
nothing.
nothing but a handbag.
And the cuntiest suit to wear. Anyways,
Um, I tried really hard to give this movie a chance. I am not the target audience for it in any way. But I
straight.
think it also, yeah, but uh, straight and male. But it also doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be. Um, and that kept tripping me up because I can't decide if it is funny or if it's like big fish kind of weird or like hard boiled mystery or amnesia story or
Well, it tries to be all of them, or Wes Andersonian like character study.
yeah,
Hard pivots to like a black comedy of errors thing.
yeah. And Kate Winslet is taking the role very seriously, and it doesn't really feel like anybody else is. And I don't think that that is their fault. It's the way that their characters are written. Like
Yeah.
Kate Winslet is the only one, and a little bit of the lesser Hemsworth is they're the only ones that get to be full
People.
people, and they're the only ones that behave like human beings, and everyone else is a character.
Yeah.
Which I think feeds into my read of the film, which is that maybe this is a unreliable narrator kind of story
That makes it more
because
interesting.
we don't ever,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, we don't ever get a really clear uh, proof of Kate Winslet actually having worked at any of these designer labels. She's clearly very talented, but there's also the question of why does she actually come back in the first place? That's not really clear. And, there's a lot of talk about things that people do, but not a lot of evidence of them. And everything that doesn't happen directly to her is increasingly ridiculous and fantastical.
Yes.
And then she walks in and she's so totally grounded
Yeah.
that it feels very much like somebody with a uh, tendency for tall tales telling you their own story. And where that could be really interesting sort of presentation if they leaned into it. This film felt most of the time like it was afraid of itself.
It was
You know,
afraid to commit because my other read of it is that it could have. I don't know how it would do it correctly. Maybe Basin would figure it out. To like lean into the mysticism, like she actually is
Mhm.
cursed. She actually
Right.
is a deus machina of bad luck. So like, make that happen in a more believable way.
And it spends so much time not even talking about that.
Oh, it takes so long to set it up. Yes.
That when it does come up, it comes up a couple of times as sort of a throwaway thing, and then it just piles it all on at the end of the movie. Like the last half hour is a bunch of comedy of errors sorts of things, um, And so by that point, it's downplayed any mysticism that could exist, and worked so hard to ground its main character that it all feels very contrived. The school teacher gets hit in the head with a record player, and uh, mom has a stroke, and uh,
Oh, the hunchback
I
guy
don't
just
know.
literally keeps walking and walks too far into a puddle.
Right, because he can't stop. Like, never mind that he would have had to go up and then down 2 sets of stairs and out the back door, and both doors would have to be open. And like, if you actually had uh, you know, so many things have to line up perfectly for him to then die in a puddle in his backyard.
Yes.
Where if they had been just doing weird shit the whole time, like if this, I'm not the biggest fan of Terry Gilliam and his work, although there are things that I enjoy. But if this had been like Brazil, where everything is just weird, just too weird, or even like 12 Monkeys, where it's
Mm.
somebody put into a situation where nothing makes sense,
Mhm.
that would have felt a whole lot better. But it wants to have its cake and eat it too.
While being like diet conscious.
Yeah,
Low sugar, please. And you're like, Mama, it's frosting.
those little hashish brownies that she baked
Mm.
were so unappetizing looking.
They were, yeah, and they were cut so weird. No one cuts brownies like that.
Is that the only time we ever see anybody eat anything in this film?
Kate Winslet takes like the saddest slurp of soup.
Oh, that's right. She and her mom both have scenes where they're eating tomato sauce.
Yeah, it's not tomato soup. That is literally just tomato sauce out of the can.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have time to eat. We have time to look fabulous and pose, honey.
And this film, I messaged you while I was finally finishing it this morning. It feels a lot like a stage play,
Yes.
in that every setting is just a room for people to talk in.
Yes.
There's very little interaction with the environment or with any props or anything, and that's fine. Like I appreciate uh, you know old cinema where it's just people standing around in rooms and talking, but it doesn't quite work in a story where the main character is somebody who makes things. We don't even really see that much of her actually
Making.
making
Yeah,
dresses.
we just see the end product.
Yeah. There are a couple of scenes where she's taking measurements and
Okay, the scene where she takes measurements of Liam's Hemsworth with the suit is that is for women and gay people to goon to. Thank you very much.
100%. I was watching it and I was like, this is so unnecessary. Like, can we just, like, I know why it's here, I know what we're doing. Um, but it feels very much like, you know, having a woman in a bikini running down the beach, like it's there just to titillate. And it's funny, you know,
Because they're
but then it goes on entirely too
and they're
long,
doing it
which everything in this film does.
and they're doing it in front of her mom, who
Who is also like,
gooning.
you know, yeah, stealing his whiskey and making sexual harassment comments. It was 1951, so you could do that. But
Hey, at least it's feminism. It's woman to man.
right, that's what equality is, right?
Better than all the sexual assault scenes in this movie, where it's just like, ooh, okay, moving along, 50s.
It treated that very casually
It's
too,
like,
right up until the end of the movie, right?
right,
And
revenge,
uh,
women's rights,
well, yeah, she kills her husband who had been drugging and raping her for what is implied decades,
decades.
and then they just sort of shuffle her off.
Right, she just got taken away. I mean, she
Yeah,
kind of just did it and said, women's rights.
but there's a throwaway line somewhere else that
She's
she
like,
had
oh yeah, she's not here. She got taken away.
been
Yeah,
arrested.
she's got taken away.
Yeah,
Oh, mostly because
So that's cool.
that was absurd because, right, it was the play, and they were like, wait, where is one of our main actors? Oh, he's dead. The wife killed him. She got taken away. And you're like, wouldn't this, like, 30-person town know if, like, the mayor or whatever he is gone?
Right. The entire film spends all of its time setting up the fact that everyone is just in each other's business. So, how would literally everyone in town get on the same bus and not know that one of the most important people in town is dead because he bled to death out of his ankles in his own kitchen? Which was also like a shockingly gruesome thing to have in the film, too. It was,
Yeah, she was.
I, I have my own issues around like foot injuries and stuff. And so that was hard to watch to begin with, but it was also like the shocking gore
Right.
just all of a
She
sudden.
wanted him to slowly bleed out to death.
And I get it, and I get the symbolism there. But again, there had been nothing, it was such a tonal shift. It felt like a scene that had been written and had been forgotten to get cut, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you're just going to have oh yeah, she killed her husband and got taken away on the bus later, why show the scene at all?
Right. They should have done it.
Why not just have the guy disappear?
Yeah,
You know?
campier kind of thing. They want the, like,
Yeah.
failing me now, the catharsis. There we go. It took me a second. The catharsis of that scene, I guess, for women and gay people.
And if there had been more of that,
Yeah.
it would have made sense. Right? But that is like the one truly violent revenge.
Might as Bert.
Or if they had it got a little gruesome, I guess, seeing the dead body of that guy's son, you know, with the like core death that the whole plot is built around. But it even shied away from that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go full gruesome,
Yeah.
right, I don't think that we should be glorifying child death for entertainment. But if you are like going to flirt with that, either go all the way
Right.
or get creative about it.
Right. Because, right, the movie proposes that kid who died deserved it, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up, isn't it?
I mean, yes, he was an asshole and bullying the shit out of her and getting away with it because everyone else was complicit. But did he deserve to have his neck snapped by accident?
Which is the same question that gets raised by her burning literally the entire town down and everyone's belongings with it. Like, some people were more awful than others, and most of the worst people had died already.
But
So
I think the only justification that the movie makes is also everyone she cared about died. Hugo Weaving got sent away. Her mom is dead. Hemsworth's family is dead and left town. They made the point of pointing that out. Oh, I guess what happened to the apothecary's wife with the weed brownies? She's still alive.
I don't know. She had done so much weed that she was in a catatonic state, which also felt fucked up.
Well, she's in a lot of pain.
Well, and I thought that character was going to go a different direction because as soon as the truth started coming out, she stopped feeling any pain at all. And so
Yeah.
the implication was that she'd been drugged into this state.
Right.
So maybe she would be free, but no, she has so much THC in her system that she is brain dead, basically.
How do you get that much weed in 1950s middle of nowhere bumfuck Australia?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, where was all of that hashish coming from?
Paris? The implication is right. She brought it from Paris.
She had it. She had it in the bottom of her sewing machine.
Yes. Ooh, and I know this recipe. You know, Miss Balenciaga herself taught me how to make this weed brownie. Oh.
But actually, the mom, Millie, was that what they called her?
Molly.
She has a comment about how she has a better recipe, and she's the one that bakes the really potent stuff. So I think that she was probably just growing it behind the house.
I love that. There are also sorts of very silly details that like could have been used more interestingly. The mirror tree, which is
Yeah.
super fabulous.
And is seen once.
It's seen exactly once, and there's no setup to it, minus her like rummaging through garbage for a bad mirror once, and you're like, but
And then they get back to the house and it's like, oh, we already have a mirror tree.
okay.
Was that there before, or did we miss the part where it got installed? Was that a Hemsworth thing where he like went out and found a bunch of mirrors for her?
That's kind of cute. That's probably implied. Yeah.
I think it was something like that. But then why was all of that dry brush around the mirror tree not on fire?
Because the magic of fashion, baby.
But again, right? Like if this was, I kept thinking of Big Fish. You remember that movie,
Yes.
right? And like the magical realism that was with that, and part of why that movie worked was because it pushed further in, and so you had your straight man character who didn't believe any of it, and then he's sort of pulled into it. And you could have done that with this, and it felt like it was sort of trying to sometimes, but it was afraid of being too weird. And so you had these totally quirky, unrealistic characters in a grounded story that had this like narrative dissonance, which really kept pulling me out of the film every single time the fucking pharmacist shows up, bent at a right angle, you know, like, and he's somehow still working. He felt like a Mel Brooks character
Oh,
almost.
you like literally, and how he dies is so Mel Brooksian.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like the best part of the movie, but also the part that makes it very incongruous is Hugo Weaving, right? Crossdresser fantasy. Hugo Weaving is like the best part of the movie, but also totally like, uh?
Yeah. Because he is that character turned all the way up. There's also this like total level of disbelief that he could get away with what he was doing for that long, right? Because he doesn't do a very good job hiding it. One of our first scenes that we are really introduced to him, he is wearing a skirt and has a little hat on or something in his office,
Yes.
and the woman is peeking in through the window. Like, you know, I have trouble believing that you're going to have a character that is turned that far up to 11, right? And who has already been accused of by another character with evidence of, you know, these these indecent behaviors, and nobody in the town's even talking about it. There seems to be zero suspicion about his proclivities, and then at the end when he tells everybody about it himself, everybody's all shocked. Oh my god, how could this be? You know, and he's wearing uh
Matador.
his matador outfit, which felt kind of tone deaf, but um
I mean, we had a scene with the Mikado moving along.
yeah, that was
Ooh.
something. Um, that's a perfect example of like the level of suspension of disbelief that this movie asks you to have for the setup to work, right? Um, is just too far, and it doesn't. It could create these levels of tension, like if the whole town was always trying to get him out, right?
Right.
Um, you could write that so that in the end, when he sort of has, for lack of a better term, this sort of coming out moment, right? Um, you could really play up the drama of that, right? And now everybody is finally able to say what they want to say or whatever. But it shies away from that because it's easier to do the scene where everybody's just shocked by the guy who is clearly this flamboyant
Crossdresser.
individual, you know, who's almost a gay stereotype, is, oh my god, wearing women's clothing.
He like orgasms to fabric, which. Hmm.
Which again, another like, this guy. would fit just fine in a Terry Gilliam movie,
Yeah.
right? Like a man who is in love with velvet, like in a carnal way, you
Yeah.
know, like. But it's scared of that. It walks up to the line where any one of these characters is interesting, and then it goes, oh, that's too far.
But that's what I want to know. I feel like there's like like an absurd buddy black comedy murder movie where the cross dresser who goons to fabric and the fabulous dressmaker, like, I don't know, set fire to the town. That'd be fun. Now that's a gay movie I'd want to watch.
You know, and what if she actually did kill her bully with a brick who turned out later to be her
He
brother?
kind of deserved it, sort of.
Yeah, it would be more. It would be a much more interesting character, because that also plays into this issue that we like lightly touched on before, in that things just sort of happen to her, right? It wants her to be this like powerful femme fatale, sort of almost feminist character,
Yeah.
um, but she's utterly helpless the whole time. You know, like, and even in the end, she never has to confront anyone or anything. We do get her like going to her father's victim, who then later kills him, and that all happens off screen. Presumably, she like tells the whole story, and it all comes out, and it all works out. We don't really see that.
Uh-uh.
Any of the moments where she would have like this character heroism happen off camera, and everything that we see on camera are these moments of like total helplessness.
Yeah, it is choice. So,
So it's not a feminist movie. It's not really a camp movie. Like it's scared of that. Um, it's not a murder mystery. It's not really a femme fatale story. Um,
and like it spends too long on, you know, the most like fun part, but like bad for the movie, like makeovers, which is always fun for gay people. The costuming is immaculate, but they spend too long on it, or like too long to explain the power of clothing.
I really love that they did a literal 1980s, 1990s girl takes her glasses off and she's suddenly beautiful
Oh, with Sarah Snook.
reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gertrude comes in the ball in her perfectly cut dress, and because she did her hair and got clothes that fit and took her glasses off, now she's the most gorgeous woman in town. And the guy who was totally not interested in her at all is now going to marry her. And yeah, she kind of becomes a villain later, but that's played off as like a victory. You know,
Right.
like
She becomes an
she
asshole.
she won the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, who was uninterested in her in any way, and is now presumably only interested in putting a baby in her. You know,
That's all you want to do, anyways, right? In the 50s, allegedly.
I guess it is 1950s Australian outback. I mean, what else are you going to do with your time?
The hair transformation is unrealistically impossible. She has a fucking broom on her head, and then somehow she gets like 3 bags of hair,
Mhm.
a perfectly laid updo, slicked, hairsprayed, pin pulled, tucked perfectly. In my head, Kate Winslet's character does that for her too. She's like, the rest of you's a mess. Let me get in here.
She's a hairdresser. She's an expert in makeup.
And
She
and a
is an expert dressmaker.
couturier.
She apparently, yeah, she apparently knows how to teach manners and you know, feminine guile as well. Like the entire class. Where was that montage even? You know, they did the montage off screen. This moment where we could have seen Kate Winslet being like,
Here's how you fucking act in a society, you dumb fucks.
"Hey, didn't even get that." It doesn't even commit to people smoking. It like people smoke when it's convenient for it to happen. It's the 1950s. Everyone should have a cigarette in their mouth at all times.
Only Kate Winslet sort of does, but not enough.
But then it goes long stretches where she doesn't smoke at all.
Well, she's sewing. I guess you can't. Well, no, they all did. What are we talking about? They all did, anyways.
This was an era where you would go to the doctor's office and he would have a cigarette while he told you what was wrong with your knee. Like, and then give you laudanum to help you sleep.
The rugby scene takes way too long. It is fabulous, but it takes way too long.
It is well shot. I wondered how much more enjoyable it would have been if I knew anything about rugby. And I was thinking, like, when, for example, an Australian watches American football, is this how they feel, right? Or when anyone outside of Britain and India watch
Yeah.
cricket, you
They
know?
go, huh? I'm like, it. From the clips I have seen of rugby, where you're mostly looking at hot men doing things, there is not enough body contact. Actually, they like lift each other to like block things and stuff, and they're pulling on each other's shorts. I demand to see that. Where was that?
And at one point toward the end of the game, Mr. Hemsworth has a cut on his face, and it's unclear where that even came from.
Yeah.
My cultural touchstone for rugby is the what was that TV show, the Nickelodeon cartoon in the 90s about the roller skating, like extreme sports kids?
Oh,
Rocket
Rocket
Power.
Power. Did they play rugby in that?
There, yeah, there's a rugby episode.
Like, here's all the sports.
And like I think an Australian surfer kid comes to town and he like is going to teach them how to play rugby, and his like word of advice is for them to tape their ears down.
Yes. Okay, that's why it's so unbelievable. All of them are perfectly gorgeous, perfectly trim, no cauliflower ear in sight.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the stupidly hottest town of men.
It doesn't even commit to its rugby.
No, it's rugby. It looks kind of gay. And
Well,
like,
you were the target audience.
well, yeah, like the goal sign is with like a flag number. And
But
she seduces the team by wearing a dress. But I mean, she looks great in them. So yes.
yeah, these are all men that
Hooga.
fucking sheep on the weekends because there's no one around for them to.
As you see some tit, you go.
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Yes.
And we're back.
Hello.
So is this an Of Mice and Men story? Is there a version of this film where like uh Hemsworth's disabled brother is playing a larger part?
Yes.
He was like an endearing character, and I kept wishing that he was around more, but he's sort of played off as
He's literally
that
yeah, he's a
character.
deus machina to like help you
Yeah.
reveal the plot. He's the not the red herring, he's the like little glimmer of the correct answer question mark.
This is 2015. I would have hoped that we were beyond using people with physical and intellectual disabilities as like a plot point, at least that obviously. It
Yeah.
feels almost like a dated representation.
The novel's from 2000.
Yeah, okay. But as we update our work for adaptations because we can't come up with original ideas, you would hope that you would also update your characters and representations. Maybe this is better than it was in the book. I haven't read the book. Maybe he is openly offensive in the book.
Yeah.
But it just felt very he was a character that felt like he had a lot of potential
Yes.
and was sorely wasted.
Yeah. Maybe they gave too much time to his hot brother. Basically. To like
Yeah.
dovetail it.
Only to
Yeah.
drown him 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Yeah, that is the pacing part is it's too long of her coming to town makeover. Let's find out what's going on. And then the heel turn into black comedy. It's right, it's 3/4 till the end. And when it really should have been like standard filmmaking and storytelling, at the peak of the middle of the story is Liam Hemsworth's death.
This film should have been a tight 90 minutes.
Yes.
Like, take out all the filler, really, really reel in the absurdity or lean fully into it
Yes.
and just boom, 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 uh, rush through it.
Yeah.
And then the things that we are missing, the things that happen off camera, would feel a little bit more justified. But it being 2 hours long, the fact that anything happens off camera feels ridiculous because we wasted so much time on so many things,
Yes.
you know, um, that it just doesn't justify its 2 hour runtime.
No.
And I had to watch it in 3 parts because I was just so bored for most of it.
Straight men don't listen to woman.
Yes, that is the problem with this film. I will remind you that one of my favorite movies of all time is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. But no, I'm a problematic straight man.
Yes, you are. Oh my god, yes, Yellowface jump scare, the Mikado. Ah!
Oh shit, yeah. I want to hear you talk about that because as a white person, I was like, "Hey, I also thought we moved past this too by 2015."
I, it's set in the 1950s. The Mikado exists as a thing. Also, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work narratively because it's supposed to be like, holy shit, how fabulous are these costumes?
She did the costumes. When did she do the costumes? When would she have possibly had time to do that when she made Baroque costumes for everybody else in the town?
Yeah.
How could she have done that secretly? When did she do that? When is she making any of this clothing? How many days have passed? I have so many questions.
But also, they were not that fabulous.
No, they were pretty straightforward, like silk kimono esque. Like,
Right. And if she had made like a 1950s Dior new look riff on the like kimono or like, done her signature va-va-voom to a kimono, then there was like, that would narratively would be like more interesting.
that's an interesting point too, because so much of her clothing is so like overtly
Sexual.
sexual in a way that doesn't feel like it would even exist in the 1950s,
Yes.
right? Like titties bursting out of the top of the dress. Um,
Everything is fitted perfectly.
Everything is fitted, everything is hourglass shape. And so when it's put forward that she had done this, Eastern inspired costuming, it doesn't look like anything else that she's done, and it doesn't fit with her established aesthetic. And so, like, if they, if it looked like the rest of the clothing that she'd done, right, it would have been like, oh, of course,
Yeah.
like give your audience a little bit of something. But no, she's apparently just doing it all.
Yeah. And her mom is dead, so her mom can't even help her sew. So,
Right. So when did she make all of those costumes? This not only does this movie have problems with pacing, but it also has problems with just establishing a fiction. And it really illustrates how important it is. You don't have to come out right out and say when everything happens, but you have to establish a rhythm and you have to establish a uh, consistent sort of visual language that allows your audience to place events in a timeline. I don't need to know exactly how much time passed when she was making costumes, but I need to have something happen that gives me the sense that she's working on it for whatever period of time and that some time has passed. Not that uh, her mom dies and then the next day they're all going to the play, right?
which is especially important, like visual language clarity is important in ostensibly a fashion film?
Yeah, for a fashion film, this movie has a terrible ability to do any visual language consistently in any way.
And we talked about this off camera and through text. You were so confused about the ages. The biggest
Yeah.
problem, which is not Kate Winslet's fault, is how they cast and like made their developed the characters. Is she's supposed to be the same age relatively to Sarah Snook and Liam Hemsworth and like that generation of children. She looks 10 years older than them and is the most fabulous
Mhm.
42-year-old you've ever fucking seen in your life next to these mousy looking 25-year-olds. And they're the same age?
Right. They all went to school together, and when they do flashbacks, she's like the littlest of all the girls. you know? And if they had leaned into even all of the women being the same age, and then like Liam Hemsworth is the like plucky little brother
Yes.
who was always around, like there would have been some grossness there, but at least it would have added a level of complexity to those characters,
Yes.
and also would have played into like a femme fatale sort of cliche, if we want to lean into that, of the older woman who comes in and is
Seduces the
like so
young.
va-va-voom hot that she seduces the younger man. But then you also couldn't have had her be so hopeless or be so helpless in the face of him, and he is sort of her savior, sort of, kind of, and that wouldn't work if you were trying to play up that like age dynamic, which often I think for characters works a lot better if the woman maintains some level of like authority and power,
Yes.
right? Because that's like the appeal there.
Yes. A
Um,
Dom mom.
right. And if you're going to have a femme fatale character who is older than her love interest, like you kind of have to lean into that for it to like work as a character dynamic, I think. But like they don't give her that either. As soon as she is with this guy, she is like totally subservient and totally helpless. And okay, fine, if you want to write the character that way, like there is a way to do that that doesn't feel so stupid,
Yes.
right? And maybe it doesn't work in like a film that is trying to be like a sort of kind of feminist sort of female, like classic femininity, but also a power fantasy, right? But
Wish fulfillment kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It like you could have done it, but it again, it just can't pick what side of the road it's on for any single particular point. Um, and that undermines everything that the film tries to do, right up until the very end.
Yeah. Like their cheeky in movie choice is Sunset Boulevard. Huh?
Eh?
Who is this commentary on? The mom?
Well, and then they like throw in a Shakespeare thing just so they can make a like Macbeth illusion,
Right.
right? Because everybody's dying. Then they don't do any Shakespeare. You don't even see that performance.
Right. Which you should, like, at least a little for dramatic irony.
Right. I don't know.
Oh, the
Um,
music's terrible in this? Or like every
yeah.
music that they wrote for it is so cliche and bad. The Lakame Flower duet drop during the Mirror Tree works, but it's cheesy. Oh. Yeah, we get it. Commercial ass
Yeah.
music, literally. Uh,
Even like the pulls for like the vinyl records that the mom owns, that ostensibly has like all of this like somehow she got her hands on a Billie Holiday record
yeah,
in
in Paris.
like the Australian outback. Like, okay, fine. I guess that's fun. And I'm here for it, but it didn't even really commit to that,
Uh-uh.
you know?
Yeah,
I don't know that I would suggest this film to anyone unless you are looking for this particular sort of like camp. But even then, I feel like there are better examples. The most offensive thing about this film is that it is just so okay with being fine.
yeah. And there are elements in it that it's almost teases you because if, like we talked about off screen, if it just was a bad Lifetime movie, it would go down easier knowing that it's uniformly kind of middling. But
Yeah.
there are things of excellence in here that just make you mad. The
There,
non-Australians.
I don't know that there are things of excellence in this
Oh,
film, but there
things
are
that could
things
be
of
excellent.
like, sure, yeah. There are moments that threaten to have an idea of something else that they could have done that would have been excellent. I think what this film most suffers from is that it just doesn't take any swings.
And it should
There,
have.
every single decision is safe, and every single decision is like totally validating the fact that it was an Amazon Studios production. You know, like this is a film that will maybe make some money and it will not piss off any shareholders. And it's not threatening in any way. It doesn't take any chances. Um, and it has enough, just good enough in it. Kate Winslet is fantastic because she is one of the most talented actors of her generation.
Yeah.
And same goes for Hugo Weaving,
Yeah.
right? But so they'll
Carry this.
yeah, and they were celebrated for their performances because they were great because they're talented at what they do.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is just sort of hung on that, and just plays safe.
What would you, as movie producer with unlimited amounts of money, which direction would you take it in? Would you
I would go full weird. Like I would just
absurdist comedy, or
yeah, I would keep Kate Winslet and I would play her like even straighter, like just like
she's just
like
sewing, she's just
yeah,
smoking a cigarette.
and she like went out into the world. I might play down the femme fatale, like turn that down a little bit and just have her be like a very talented,
Seamstress.
very worldly seamstress who comes back to this small town that's just fucking bonkers.
Yes.
You know, where everybody is a character and just like play that. And I don't know if it would work, but it would be a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Right? If literally everybody is a character out of a Far Side cartoon and then, she's here.
And then does she still murder a lot of people or accidentally allow a lot of people to die?
Yeah, I might actually like have her be a murderer.
Oh.
And she knows, but she's playing down the thing.
I don't know what
that's the
happened.
big reveal at the end.
I did it all. And then she kills everyone in the fire and calls.
She locks everybody in their houses, and it turns out that she used like lead face paint, and then they all die horrible burning deaths. And
and while they're while they're dressed in couture,
in their Baroque costumes, and then the last like 5 minutes of the film are a horror movie, or like you don't see it, but it's just implied, and she like goes away, and then it's set up so that as the credits roll, you have the sinking realization that she's murdered everybody in the town.
And you can still use the footage at the end with her.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to Paris.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Melbourne will be fine. And then, like, you realize, oh, shit, she just killed everyone.
There we go.
So
we fixed it.
I don't know. I think that is far more interesting.
Okay, this movie has been approved. I've approved the funding. We do need to switch out the love interest to someone who can act a little bit better. I forgot how bad of an actor he was. That Hemsworth.
Let's get Wolverine in here.
That's a better age match.
Hugh Jackman.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
And also, I would be quivering in my panties over like any scene they would have together. Oh my god, it'd be so hot.
And let's resurrect David Bowie and have him play the Hugo Weaving.
Yes. Part. Yes. He would play it more sinister.
Oh, 100%. And then you wouldn't know if you could trust him, but then it would turn out that, I don't know, he was the good guy.
And he's wearing the stupid codpiece he wears in the Labyrinth. Yes. Okay, done. Like
and the hair.
Yes. Yes, I'm the
And it's one of those things where everybody knows. They just know that he's a homosexual, but they're not.
They're too scared because he's also the sergeant of the town.
Right. And he's got a lot of guns, so.
You were the last one's hidden?
Yeah. There you go. There's a good movie. It just needed a little bit more work.
Why don't they hire us?
So, Sean, when you're not watching this, what are you consuming?
Recently, it has been content. Oh, this is so nerdy. Content about Pokemon Nuzlocke.
Oh, Nuzlocke runs are so delightful and frustrating.
I just watched or almost finished this video that a content creator did about a really, really, really hard made fan-made Nuzlocke game. I'll send it to you later, where it's like, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's like a very rough Nuzlocke port of Emerald, but it is 331 battles that you have to win. And you play with Nuzlocke, and basically every character, including youngster Tommy, you have to fully strat out. which is yeah.
That's so much fun. When if you want to watch something that takes it a little bit less seriously, Griffin McElroy's Nuzlocke run of Pokemon Y is worth a run through.
Yeah, it makes Pokemon kind of like what you want it to be after you're the age of like 12 to 15, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Who gives a shit about the storyline? The actual battle mechanics of Pokemon are like what makes it so good.
right. Raising the stakes a little bit and making it so that you can't just throw your, you know,
Favorite Pokemon there and hit Hydro Pump every turn.
right, um, or have a Queen's Gambit sort of situation,
Yeah,
but like that actually costs you something.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect because I was playing um, Pokemon Emerald before you got on the phone. So
Okay. Like regular Emerald or
yeah, like regular Emerald.
nice
Yeah. Although I played around with Emerald Sea Glass, which is a really interesting
fan made. Yeah.
uh, yeah, ROM hack. And has some neat things in it. And I played a little bit of No Name Fire Red, which is a Nuzlocke mod, like specific. That's brutal. But
Yeah. Your turn.
as of recording, Wednesday, one of my favorite bands just put out a new song that's very, very country, um, in like a good way. I've been listening to that, and
What song is that?
it's called Elderberry Wine. And Wednesday is a great band of young folks from, where are they from? Carolinas, I think. Um,
Oh, I would fall in love with half of these people. Yeah. Okay, this sounds good.
yeah, they're great. MJ Letterman was um, the lead guitarist until recently, uh, and I really love them. Rat Saw God was one of my favorite albums of last year. But their new song pulls them in like deeper into their country roots, and I'm all for it. Um, that and the folk stylings of Ken Yates. It's
Mm.
been what is playing lately in my house.
It's almost like a good art exists out there still. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I feel like mute.
you can find it.
Yeah, somehow, even though like the music industry is trying so hard to squeeze like the chance for good non-corporate funded music to exist out of existence, it still exists for now.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And you can spend money in ways that actually support people that are like making music that they care about, and support that. And then for the rest of them, like Metallica, you can just pirate them.
It's no Sam Studios.
Well, actually,
Did I stutter?